So let's go ahead and get started. So today, again, we're going to be talking about how to increase MSP profits selling BDR and backup and disaster recovery for any type of outage, even ransomware. So we are going to be touching on ransomware as well, since it's been such a hot topic lately. We will be talking about that. And my name is Carla Federico, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at InforScale. I have all of my contact info for you here. If anything comes up after the presentation that you want to discuss further, please reach out to me. Also, we are recording this presentation, so you will be able to see a copy of this replay within about 24 hours. I'll have it up on the site. It's www.inforscale.com/webinars. And then a copy of the slides, if you're interested in these slides as a handout. There is a handout section in the software. So go ahead, it's just along the right-hand side there, you should see handouts. You can grab a copy of not only these slides, but I put a couple of reports in there as well for you. So you should be able to find there a ransomware survival guide, the 2016 Disaster Recovery Attitudes and Adoption Report. So lots of other info in there for you as well. So go ahead and please feel free to grab a copy of those. And then we'd love for you to join the conversation. You can follow us on Twitter at InforScale. You can find us on LinkedIn, on Facebook. We'd love to chat with you more. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation today, any questions or comments, just use the questions tool within the software and go ahead and type those questions and comments in there. All right. So let's take a look at the agenda. First, we're going to be looking at some key trends in BDR in 2016. We'll be talking about how to eradicate downtime and data loss. We'll talk, of course, the topic for today, increasing profits by selling BDR, and we'll have a Q&A at the end, of course. Now, we do have a prize giveaway in today's Q&A. So all you need to do to be eligible for that prize giveaway is ask lots of relevant and on-topic questions. So make sure you find that question tool and go ahead throughout the presentation as questions come up. Just type them in there and then we'll come to that during the Q&A. All right? Okay, great. So let's start off by really just realizing that globalization has created a really highly competitive market for any type of business, both big and small, to thrive. And with these competitive times, nobody can afford to lose out on sales revenue, on new customers, on new opportunities because of unplanned outages. So every organization's IT systems need to be up and running at all times. So implementing a proper business continuity and disaster recovery plan for your customers is a must for every MSP. It's just critical for a business. Now at InforScale, we completely understand this. Gartner even recognized us as a 2015 cool vendor in business continuity and disaster recovery. So you see that logo on the bottom left there. And then plus they named us a visionary in disaster recovery as a service in their 2016 Magic Quadrant as well. Now, what do you have at risk if you have to suffer downtime or if you have an outage? So here are the calculated averages. This is a cost per hour of downtime. What was found in this study is that small companies lost over $8,000 per hour. In large organizations, they reported losses of over $600,000 per hour. Now, the average was right around $163,000 per hour. So really consider what happens if your systems go down. Every single hour you lose all communication with your partners, your customers, your employees, et cetera, et cetera. So how would you deal with this situation? Or more importantly, how would your customers deal with this situation? So you need to know how much these unplanned outages would cost. And for all of these unforeseen situations, you really need to ensure that you have a proper backup and disaster recovery plan in place. Now let's take a look at some trends in the barriers to BDR adoption. So This was a survey done of companies ranging from 100 to 5,000 employees, and most of these businesses said that they couldn't fail over to a second location. Only 10% of the companies surveyed said that they could fail over within 15 minutes. So why haven't these companies invested in failover? Well, what was found is that the high majority found it was too expensive. So 36% of those respondents said, just can't afford it. It's too much money. And then after that, insufficient IT resources and complexity issues, those were the next highest barriers to adoption. And this is coming from one of the reports that's in the handouts. So I mentioned the 2016 Disaster Recovery Attitudes and Adoption Report. Go ahead and grab a copy of that in the handouts if you haven't yet, okay? Okay, so just how expensive is it? Well, that's going to depend. And historical disaster recovery invariably means trade-offs. So here we're looking at the cost along the bottom and recovery time, or RTO, recovery time objective, along the other axis here. Now, starting with offsite tape backup, of course, that's really cheap, but the recovery time takes days. And anywhere along this continuum, you have cloud backup, appliance backup, cold, warm, hot site DR. It just gets more and more expensive as you go along. So yes, the recovery time is going to be much faster, but you always have to make the trade-off between speed and cost. Now, what you really want is affordable on-demand failover. And that's really where DR as a service comes in, or DRaaS. And so DRaaS lets you quickly reboot and virtualize VMs to keep all of your customers productive while you fix the root cause of that outage. Now, here are some of the top causes of downtime. And this is not going to be a surprise to most of you. But this chart is, we have sort of two different stories. So on the left is the pervasiveness of downtime. 91% of data center managers surveyed experienced downtime within the last 2 years. 47%, over half, experienced an outage this year. And then on the right here, you see the top causes of downtime. Of course, we know hardware failure and human error is going to account for the majority, but even natural disasters, things like those fires and floods, those are going to account for less than 5%, but still we want to look at both the micro and macro disasters, right? We need to account for any type of outage that could occur. And now let's talk about some trends in ransomware. Almost 3,000 new malware modifications were reported in the first quarter of 2016. So we know, just to be really clear, we know that ransomware gets activated by a user, and a user lets it in, and then it starts modifying all the files on the system until a triggered message for a ransom demand comes up. So what we found is that these recent trends, we're looking at these 3,000 new malware modifications that were detected in Q1 of 2016. 72%, so nearly 3/4 of ransomware victims were unable to access their data for 2 days. It could take up to 5 days in other cases. And that's because once the hackers verify the payment, they provide the decryptor software, and then the computer starts that long process of decrypting all the files. And then we know they're getting away with it because of the amount of money paid in ransom. The FBI reported over $200 million has been paid in ransomware in the first 3 months of this year. Now compare that with all of 2015, where the total was $25 million paid in the entire year. Now, over 1/3 of SMBs fell victim to malicious phishing emails in 2015 as well. So really, one big problem is you have no idea for weeks or months if you click on one of those malicious links, or I should say one of your employees or a customer's employee clicks on one of those links, and then the ransomware starts slowly. It starts with the old files on the system. It's looking at the last date opened or the last date modified. And then again, you have no idea until you get one of these messages for the ransom demand. And then once those files are encrypted, the hackers display a sign like this. So it's explaining how to pay to unlock the files, the cost to unlock the files. Now, in the past, ransoms started in the maybe $300 to $500 range. So they were just targeting individuals. But fast forward to 2016, and companies now are being hit with ransoms in the thousands of dollars. Now, how long would it take you to restore your systems to pre-infection? And would that downtime be costlier or more disastrous than paying the ransom? So with that in mind, before we move on to this next section, I have a quick poll. So I'd like to run this quick poll and hear from you guys. So when it comes to ransomware, which of these is you? So I'll give everyone a minute to answer that poll. Either A, yes, my client or I have been a victim of ransomware. So myself or one of my customers has experienced ransomware. B, no, I haven't experienced this type of security breach. Or C, I don't think I'll be affected by ransomware. So I'll leave this poll up here for just a minute to give everyone a chance to respond. Now, of course, right now, most of us think there are two options if you get infected. You have that ransomware running essentially silently and slowly encrypting files on your computer. So having a backup solution in place and also regularly testing those backups to make sure that they're running properly is one of those critical parts to protecting from ransomware. If you don't have access to any recent backup, you may have no choice but to pay the ransom. And of course, that takes time. We know that time is money. So this is where it all ties back. So consider again that very first slide that we were looking at, the cost per hour of downtime. So would it be costlier than paying the ransom? What's your cost per hour of downtime, and how would it affect your business? All right, we have 80% of you have voted so far. So last chance to reach forward and vote here on this poll. And then what I'll do is go ahead and close this poll down and share the results with everyone. So we have 63% yes, myself or one of my customers has been a victim of ransomware. Would love to hear more from you. You can use the question tool to type in some more questions and comments. So you can use that and let us know what the situation was. B, no, I haven't experienced this type of security breach. We have 38% of you answering B, and then 0%, I don't think I'll be affected by ransomware. So nobody said C, which is great to hear, of course. And so now we want to talk about how to eradicate downtime and data loss. And this is really our mission at InforScale. We're a disaster recovery as a service company, and we're using the cloud to eradicate downtime and data loss. So it's a really simple mission. And here are the screenshots from my backup and my recovery account with InforScale. So what was really important to note here is that InforScale keeps everything. So every version ever backed up. You can see in my backup account all the files and folders here that are on my desktop. You can see here. I chose a date back from May 2011 here. So this is, of course, just an example. Unrealistic that I would personally want to roll back to 2011 because that's 5 years of data lost, and that's not a realistic example, but essentially just to show that I have every version ever backed up. And that's really important because InforScale keeps everything forever by default. So you don't want a backup system in place that doesn't have that forever archiving component built in. It's really critical there. And then here is my dashboard. So it's not essentially just my backup and recovery software on my own machine, but here within the InforScale dashboard, I can view activity alerts from all of my accounts. I can access reports from every account that I have open. I can monitor these accounts as well. I can set up retention policies, monitor all of the usage. I can control remote deployments here. And what's really great about the dashboard is that I can log in from any browser, even if it's on a tablet, a smartphone, or a laptop. So I can just log in from anywhere. It doesn't require VPN access. And then I'm able to get all of that unified management console right there in one location. So here are the account level details. And this is where we created a brand new monitoring alert called Anomaly Detection. So Anomaly Detection is really specifically for ransomware and malware type of situations. So if a large number of files are modified, then you want to investigate and see what is happening there. Now let's take a quick look. This is about a 1-minute video to see anomaly detection in action. So here is how easy it is to set up those anomaly settings. I just go up to my settings tab and click on monitoring. And then I can see the Enable Anomaly Detection option here, this checkbox in the bottom. And this is the threshold percentage that I can set up. So again, we're calculating an average number of files modified over time, and this is for each single device. So if one device has an unusually large number of files modified, then you'll receive an anomaly alert. And that's when you want to look into it and determine what is going on. So you can even open the details. You can look at backup duration here in the monitoring details. You can see total files processed, how many files were modified. And then if you need to, you can download the logs by selecting the Manage action to investigate at a file level as well. So this is how easy it is to set up those anomaly detection settings. And this is a proactive alerting system. No other solutions for backup and disaster recovery have this today. So this is really, really important. You don't want to risk getting infected and then having to quickly scramble and pay a ransom or roll back to a previous backup. Okay, now let's take a look at a little bit more with InforScale is disaster recovery on demand. This is where DRAS comes in that I mentioned early on in the presentation, disaster recovery as a service. It lets you really quickly fail over your systems, and it supports DR to be on demand. So here's a scenario where some end users are working, and unknown to them, they're about to experience an outage, a ransomware attack, a natural disaster, one of those floods or tornadoes, any type of outage there. With on-demand failover, you can simply log in from any browser. So like I just mentioned, you can log in from a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. You can roll back to a previous state and instantly recover a clean version of the entire environment. So not just files and folders, but servers, applications. Everyone keeps working, and this whole process can happen in just 15 minutes. So let's take a closer look at this to see a more detailed way to look at it. So on the left, you have the traditional backup flow. You have the production box and the backup server next to it, which is then copying data to some storage. It could be a tape drive, on-prem disk, it could be copying to the cloud. And when a disaster happens, you then need to copy that data back out of storage, then reconfigure and boot. And this all takes a lot of time, right? This takes, like we saw earlier, 2 to 5 days. So the recovery time takes days here, but DRAS is very, very different. So with DRAS, we don't want to copy everything twice, back and forth, moving data around back and then copying it again and again. We want to just spin up a working environment where the data is. So we can virtualize and create up to 200 machines on the fly, and we can reconstruct your entire data center infrastructure where your data is sitting. So this is really, really important because it really covers exactly what InforScale aims to solve. I mentioned that our mission is to eradicate downtime and data loss. And what we do is we really focus on business continuity. So what we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years is backup and recovery is going to disappear, and it's going to be replaced by on-demand failover and by DRAS solutions. So while yes, we have a backup and recovery solution in place, but while what you really want to look at and what you should be looking at going forward is a failover solution to be prepared for that. Okay, with that in mind, now that we've heard a little bit more about BDR and DRAS, I have another poll here. So I'm launching just another quick poll when it comes to BDR. Which of these is you? And here we have A, I can confidently roll back to a previous backup within 15 minutes. B, I wish I had backup and disaster recovery but can't afford it. Or C, I still don't think I'll be affected by ransomware or downtime. So I'll give everyone a moment to answer here. All right, so far we have 45% of you have voted, so I'll give everyone a moment to participate here. And thanks in advance for your participation. I'll share the results at the end of this survey here. We've got about 50% of you have voted now. So just a few more moments here to give everyone a chance to participate. All right, we've got 60% of you have voted. I'll give everyone just one last moment here. Last chance to reach forward and vote in this poll here. So now I'll go ahead, I'll close this one down and share these results. So what we're looking at is we see 29% of you say I can confidently roll back to a previous backup within 15 minutes. 71%, I wish I had backup and disaster recovery but can't afford it. So we are going to talk about that. Of course, we're going to cover, we're going to look at some pricing, we're going to look at some competitive comparisons, and then of course the main topic for today is how you're going to be able to increase your profits. So we're going to talk about that. And then 0%, I don't think I'll be affected by ransomware or downtime, which is great. Of course, that's why you're here today, right? Okay, so let me hide these results here so that we can get back into the presentation. All right, great. So a little bit about InforScale. Here just taking a look at essentially the old way and the new way of BDR. So with InforScale, we avoid reserved infrastructure. And this is how we do it. On the left, you see how essentially how traditional BDR systems are set up. So you have a production site that replicates to the failover site, and then because of the bandwidth, the people, the software involved, it can take up to 3 times as much to set up a proper DR solution. On top of that expense to implement, it's really complex to test and to use, and it's vulnerable to hackers because it doesn't have security built in. So with InforScale, we avoid that reserved infrastructure, but we still get on-demand failover. And we can do it at the price point of most backup solutions. And so that's what we deliver. And that's one large part of the reason why I did that last poll, is to be able to show everyone and really give examples of how we can make this affordable for you. So here is another way that we can make this affordable for you is by avoiding hardware-heavy solutions. So we not only avoid reserved infrastructure, but we also avoid these hardware-heavy solutions. And this is going to sound really familiar to some of you. Like you see on the left, the old way of doing this here, if you buy an appliance, you have, as of course your customer's data grows, that appliance fills up. So you buy another one. And data continues to grow, you end up filling that up and buy another one, and really continue this cycle. But that's the old way of doing it, where more space equals more appliance. That gets really, really costly really fast. So take a look on the right. This is the InforScale way. What we do is just imagine you could have the last hardware appliance you'd ever need, just one slim rack mount unit. You could send it 1 terabyte or 100 terabytes. And that's what we do by utilizing cloud spillover technology. So we're intelligently spilling data over from the device to the cloud. It's all based on policies that you can set in the dashboard regarding the age and value of your data. So using cloud spillover is going to not only save a lot of money, you can see here on the left how expensive these solutions are, but you're able to set those policies on what is the most critical data that you want to keep locally and what you want to spill over to the cloud. All right, third is we've designed our DRaaS solution to be end-to-end, again, disaster recovery as a service. And that's because it's increasingly vital to protect all of your customers' data, their applications, their devices. It really means that you need a solution that's designed end-to-end. You need to be able to back up any device, servers, both physical and virtual, desktops, laptops, mobile devices. We even offer geolocate and remote wipe for those devices as well. You want support for any OS, so not just Windows, but Linux, Unix, VMware, Hyper-V. You want to deploy as a physical appliance, virtual appliance, or agent-level backups. You want to be able to also store in any cloud, and we let you do that. So you do have the flexibility of storing your data in your cloud, our cloud, popular third-party clouds. You can use Amazon Web Services or Windows Azure. We recover anything, so you can recover an entire database down to mailbox level. You can preview each message for search and recovery if needed. And then you can boot anywhere, so you want to be able to boot on the appliance or in the cloud, and then fail back as well. Now, taking a look at recovery and testing, this is really critical. Again, the old way and the new way is essentially what you used to do if there were an outage is, say this outage happened at 2 in the morning on a Saturday. You'd have to get up out of bed, go to your car, drive to the data center, start recovering from backups. But imagine you could just grab your iPad off the nightstand and you could bring back 200 servers all in the right order within 15 minutes guaranteed with just the push of a button. So in addition to this on-demand failover, this push button failover, is with testing. Again, testing used to be such a hassle. You'd only do it once a year because it was such a pain. But imagine being able to do it every day with unlimited testing as well. So you can see that all the policies you've configured are working exactly the way you intend them to. And now lastly, InforScale we pay very, very, very close attention to privacy with data security and encryption. So rather than other solutions taking raw files and sending them to the cloud, we use a military-grade double-blind encryption to protect data. So this is encryption locally, in transit, and at rest, which is the only way to truly ensure that data is secure. And then also, of course, it allows us to enable compliance with regulations like HIPAA, PCI, CGIS, Sarbanes-Oxley, and more. Okay, so with that in mind, let's take a look now at how you can make money with failover DR, essentially how you're going to increase your profits. Now, firstly, what we just covered is essentially how we offer breakthrough pricing. So all of these steps that we've gone through are really showing the details of this comparison. So we looked at Barracuda, Unitrends, and Datto, and of course this was an apples-to-apples comparison. So what it included was a 10 terabyte appliance and 3 years of cloud storage as well. What we found is that with InforScale you can save up to 70% in comparison to others. And this is with the appliance, it's a low monthly fee for failover services and cloud storage. It's all just based on the number of terabytes protected, which is why we did a 10 terabyte appliance and then 3 years of cloud storage. So an apples to apples comparison, just to cover that again. Here's another look at a competitive comparison to really look at a chart that helps summarize all the key criteria that you want to be looking at when you're comparing different solutions. And as you can see, all of those vendors that we have on here, Axient, Datto, Barracuda, Unitrends, and InforScale, so all of those other vendors really just don't stack up the way that InforScale does. And of course, if you're looking for an affordable solution on top of this, really there's not much competition. So in taking a look at specifically as an MSP, how you can profit with BDR, one option is to bake pricing into your managed services offering. So here, just looking at, for example, if you have a flat hourly rate that's really developed based on averages or the majority customer that you have, take that into consideration and base your package costs on that average. So you can provide that flat cost and not lose money, even on those who are outside of the norm. As an example, say you have a home or unlimited service package, and most are going to have maybe 5 to 15 gigs of user data on their local machine. So play to that average customer because the majority are going to be within that range. And then looking at some numbers specifically, again, keeping in mind that any service work or incidental work is covered by your monthly cost, right? So consider how many workstations there are, how many servers there are, how many on-site incidents or remote assistance cases are going to be estimated per workstation, per server. And then once you have those numbers, you want to look at, essentially a good way to go about as a base MSP is to use your hourly rate on that hourly on-site time as a point of reference. So with estimating a half hour per workstation, 1 hour per server, and then a flat $250 per DR test, here's a look at some real numbers here. So this is including 5 hours of on-site time per month, and that's 10 workstations, 1 server, so that's $480 per month if the hourly rate we're assuming in this example is 80 per hour. So that's going to be $5,760 per year for remote service work, or adding those DR tests in, then you're at $8,760 in revenue per year per customer. Any questions on this example? And these are the exact prices that we offer. So I'm giving a very specific example, but just to give you an idea of what type of margins you can be making with InforScale. So these numbers are all based off of 43% margin for our partners. And these are the costs of an 8 terabyte appliance. It's an outright purchase, or you can do monthly hardware as a service subscription pricing as well. And then 4 terabytes of cloud services. And this is the MSRP compared to your cost. So we offer our channel partners the highest margins available at the lowest volume requirements. We really understand that maintaining profit margins is a big issue as an MSP, so we're making the cloud lucrative for your channel business in doing this. And then in addition to high margins, we also offer sales resources, we offer aggressive spiff programs, and we offer instant cash rewards for each deal registration. And I mentioned in the very beginning, but we are completely partner-centric. So we don't sell direct, we don't compete with our partners. We take those leads to the 90-yard line, and then we pair them up with one of our partners for the sale. And then when it comes to technical support as well, we offer technical support through a dedicated sales engineer. We offer a partner resource center, and there we have training videos, marketing templates, and more. And then we offer also MDF, or market development funds, for select partners so that we can host virtual and live marketing campaigns, lunch and learns, on-site events. And we offer all of that as part of our channel difference. Any questions on that? All right. So we are going to jump into the Q&A now, but the next steps, what I want to offer for all of you for joining us is on-demand failover free for 60 days. So you can test it out yourself, you can use it all you want, and in order to take advantage of this offer, all you need to do is use the question or comments tool. Just type in there 60 days free, and I'll go ahead and get you set up with that. And as we jump into the Q&A as well, I have one last poll that I'd like to run with you guys. So I'm going to launch this last poll. And this is simply asking, would you like to learn more about BDR and or ransomware from InforScale? Yes, I'd like to learn more about InforScale and failover disaster recovery as a service. Yes, educational BDR info would be helpful. Or no, not yet, but maybe later. So just learning today. So if everyone would like to participate in that last poll, and then don't forget, use the question tool if you'd like to take advantage of that 60 days free. I can see a lot of you already typing in there. So we have Brett, we have Warren, we have Mark. I see all of you guys typing in, more coming through here. So go ahead and continue doing that. And after you've participated in the poll, make sure to get all of your questions in as well, because I'm going to pass it over to our Senior Sales Engineer, Aaron Jordan, over for the Q&A. So take it away, Aaron.
Thanks for that, Carla. So yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions regarding the product, how it's used, et cetera, please go ahead and put in questions. I've already got a private one sent to me, so I'll go ahead and read that. But as I'm reading this and answering, I encourage you guys to send more questions over. So this question that I received privately is, do you do deal registration? Can you explain that? So yeah, we actually do deal registration. We are channel only. So that means that we won't interfere. We don't want to be involved. You know, we don't want to take your business from you. We will assist you guys. We're more than happy to assist you, but simply registering a deal makes it yours. Important things to note that it's a first come, first served basis. So if you, for example, have multiple partners in the same region and you guys both come across the same opportunity, the first person to register it gets it. So keep that in mind when it comes to deal registration. But regardless, if you want, we can always jump in and help you out. And if they try to come behind your back and reach out to us directly, we will actually send them back to you as per the deal registration information. Brett asks, I have a Hyper-V environment. I am not a technician, but what solution would you suggest? Would a pure cloud solution work, or do we need the on-site device plus cloud solution? Brett, that's an extended question. That's one of those things where we need to look at the environment. So let's just say this. On one hand, you could probably still back it up with our directed cloud. If you need some bare metal, you can use the Shadow Protect with that. But let's say that you want a full-on BDR solution, something for 15-minute or less failover. Maybe you want to do files and folders, or in some, maybe you want that nice, sweet global dedupe that our appliance offers. In that instance, we actually have host-level Hyper-V snapshot capability. So you point it to the host, it pulls in all the guests, and no agents required. And that would enable you to not only do file-level recovery, but also boot them locally and in the cloud. So it really depends on what your client needs and what their client is willing to pay for, right? The best part about InforScale is you can sell us like a solution with multiple tiers of capabilities. If you just have somebody says, I just need some backup, you can sell them the directed cloud. If they say, I'm looking for a little something extra, maybe you can give them the bare metal with the directed cloud. If they say, I'd like something that can fail over in 15 minutes or less, that can rebuild my entire environment, something that's a lot more convenient with a lot more bells and whistles, then we can deploy an appliance. So it really depends on what you're trying to push, and more importantly, what their business needs are. We can find a niche so we can go in there and make sure that they get the results they need at a price that they're satisfied with. Warren asks, can InforScale back up NAS devices? Yes, Warren. So you have a couple methods. You can, with that free 60-day trial that Carla's offering, you can back it up directly by using UNC path connections and go directly to the cloud. Alternatively, you can leverage our appliance again and use an agent on a machine that then can also as well reach out to your NAS devices and other external media to pull in that data into the appliance, and again, do job-based dedupe followed by global dedupe, and then ship that off to the cloud on the secondary site. Any other questions? I have another private message asking me, what operating systems do you support? So we have a huge list of OSs. So we have, for the direct-to-cloud, iOS, Android, Windows, Mac with the appliance. We cover that as well. But we also have Linux, FreeBSD, Open Server, AIX, Novell NetWare, HPUX. There's a couple. There's Mac OS X, and then both Solaris and Spark, or excuse me, x86 and Spark for the Solaris brand. All right, another private question. Speaking of databases, they wanted to know about how we support other databases other than SQL. Yes, the appliance has the capability for the BDR of snapshotting pretty much anything, really. You have before and after scripts you can use. So if you leverage your RMAN scripts, you could put them in there and into the appliance, and they can snapshot, that Oracle database in that example. But whether it's Postgres, Progress, MySQL, Oracle, Domino, whatever it is, we could snapshot those databases pretty easily. Anything else? So Brett asks, the backup device you supply is expensive here in South Africa. Can I build my own device, say an HP Mini Silver, and install the appliance software on it? Or is the on-site device a standard unit shipped by InforScale? That's a really good question, Brett. So you actually have the ability to have both virtual appliances and physical appliances. So sometimes it does make sense, right? So especially like, Brett, you're in South Africa, the hardware costs and even customs can be expensive moving it back and forth. So to that end, we can actually sell you virtual appliance licenses. If you have your own hardware, you can actually build on that. Note that there are specific resources required for different levels of capabilities. So for example, by default, we recommend 4 CPU cores, preferably Xenon cores, at least 2.5 frequency, so 2.5 megahertz, with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's the bare minimum that we recommend for the dedupe to be able to work well. If you're talking about using this also for a BDR solution, so that you can boot up these machines in the event of a failure, we want more RAM, right? Because remember, it's nested virtualization, so 16 gigs is what I'd probably aim for that. But again, it depends on how many servers you plan on DRing. Now, what's even cooler is, let's say that you put an appliance on your client site, not just virtual, it could be virtual or physical, but let's say you decide to be your own cloud. And Brett, this might be right up your alley being in South Africa, right? You may not want to use our data center. You can deploy a giant VMware server with a lot of resources and deploy multiple virtual appliances on that hypervisor host. And then now you're essentially a cloud end for your clients, and you don't lose any of the benefits that you would if you were to actually use our cloud. So it's one-to-one. You don't have to worry about, can I build my own cloud and keep the same resources and benefits? Absolutely. And we'll actually give you the information you'll need to be able to do that. So you can be as private as you need with, these virtual appliances. Just make sure that you follow the resource minimums, because they're there for a reason, to make sure that you get a quality service that we're trying to sell here. Any other questions? And you're welcome, Brett. All right, I guess we've only got about 7 minutes left, so I'll take time to answer one more, but I'll hand this back off to Carla, and she can announce the winner of the giveaway, and then if one other comes in that time, I can answer it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. We really appreciate you answering all these questions and being here for the Q&A. And everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate your time as well. Now, I want to make sure to give everyone one last chance to answer the poll. We have so far about 70% of you who have voted in the poll. So one last chance to reach forward and give us your response to that. And then also, congratulations to Brett. So you are our winner today for the giveaway, and we will be emailing you this afternoon with more details and how you can and how you will get that. So thank you everyone for joining us. Again, thanks Erin for answering all of the Q&A, and we very much look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks.